Okay, and welcome, and we will start with our bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. And let me make sure I can find the right place here. Okay. So here we are. Let's go. Okay. Try this, and already it's giving me troubles. Okay. We just had Balak. We read about how he sent the messengers to Balaam, and Balaam had told, and he told Balak what God had said. Balak had told Balaam what he wanted. This is back in verse 11. Where he says, I want you to curse this people. Perhaps I will be able to resist them, to fight against them, and get rid of them, basically, right? So we had this, I believe we did this, and it says, Vayomer Elokim el Bilam, right? He says to Balaam, God says to Balaam, Lo telech emahem, you shall not go with them, Lo ta'or et ha'am ki baruchu. You shall not curse this people, for they are indeed blessed. Okay. So, by the way, it's sort of interesting. It says Lo telech, Lo ta'or, etc. And Rashi is going to, as we say from time to time, riff on that.
I can't figure out where you are.
Oh, chapter 22, Numbers 22, verse 12.
Okay, I'm in chapter 20, so let me get to chapter. Let's see. Oh, wait, that is chapter 22. Verse 12, you said?
Yes.
I didn't think we did 11.
I believe, well, let's take a look, maybe. Oh, you are right. You are right, absolutely. We did not do 11. Thank you. All right. Let me go back. So it's right over here. In fact, there's the mark. All right, brain is slowly engaging, we'll say. Okay. So this is, okay, so here's the context. God is saying to Balaam, who are these people with you? And Balaam is saying to God, Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, sent to me. And here we go. Hine ha'am, behold, this nation hayotzei, and it's going to be from here, Mitzrayim, that has left Egypt, Vayachas et ein haaretz, I think this is a repetition, right? Covers the face of the land, the eye of the earth. Now, lacha, go, kava li oto, curse them for me. Ulai uchal lehilachem, perhaps I will be able to war against them, to fight them, v'gerashtiv, and chase them out. Let me get this, try and sort of clear that up. Okay, so let's just compare that. Remember, we had that. This is Balaam's reporting back to God, and here, look at this is the original message back in verse 6. Va'ata lachana, so the wording is almost precise, right? And now go, please go, arali, right? He uses the word, Balak uses the word arali et ha'amazeh, this curse this nation, ki atzum hu mimeni, because they are more powerful than I am, ulai uchal makebo. So there's some changes in the words here. I may be able to smite them, va'agar shenu min haaretz, there we go, and I will drive them out of the land. But Rashi's going to point out that Balaam, in reporting back to God, changes the message a little bit, and that's what he's going to comment on. Let me find the place now. Here, okay. So we were back here, and I think. Yes, right, this is where we were, and we're going up here. Right, so he uses the term kavali, And he also uses hilachem, although I don't know, he says nakeh, Balak says nakeh, Balaam says ilachem. So Rashi points out that Balaam's use of the term kavali to describe the curse, in other words, curse them. And this is from the Bamidbar Rabbah, that particular midrash. Zo kasher me'ara. It is a more severe type of curse than ara, than that term ara connotes. The arali. Shehu nokev umefaresh. Because he uses in using such a curse, one uses God's name explicitly. Right? So so we're getting a sense, right, by peeling apart the layers a little bit, we're recognizing how Balaam actually hates the Israelites even more than Balak. Balak is asking for one level, Balaam is going even further. That's clearly what's being said here. V'gerashtiv, and I will drive him out. And he says, min ha'olam. So let's take a look carefully and see how Rashi gets that, right? So let's see. Okay, so it says v'gerashtiv, and I will drive him out. This is what Balaam is saying Balaam is reporting Balak's words back to God, right? And let's take a look at what Balak actually says. He says, v'agarshenu min haaretz, that I will drive him out from the land. Balaam doesn't say min haaretz. He just says, gerashtiv, I get rid of him. And that's why Rashi is saying, or why the rabbis are saying what they are saying. So, v'gerashtiv, min ha'olam, from the world. I should wipe them out. Uvalak lo amar ela v'agarshenu min haaretz, whereas Balak only said, I will drive him out from the land. Eini mevakesh ela lahasiam me'alai. Balak was saying, I'm merely trying to remove them from me, from being a threat to me. But Bilham hayason am yoter mi Balak. But Balaam hated them more than Balak. Well, just thinking the fact that in some ways he was in competition with Moses, but whatever the reasons, right? And anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Let's go on now. Thank you. Lauren, thank you. I almost overlooked that. Vayomer Elohim el Balaam. So el Bilam. So God says to Bilam, Lo telech imahim. Do not go with them. Lo ta'or, you shall not. He uses the word, right? He doesn't say lo tikov. He says lo ta'or et ha'am. You shall not curse the people. Ki varuchu, for they are blessed. They're considered blessed. Let's take a look at the Rashi now. Lo telech ilahim. Do not go with them. Amar lo. So this is Balaam speaking back to God. Balaam is bargaining with God according to this Rashi, right? That is the language of the sentence, suggests this bargaining situation. So Balaam says, Amar lo. So he says to that, well, if that's the case, if you don't want me to go with them, I'll curse them right from over here, from where I am, from my place. Amar lo. God said to him, Lo ta'or et ha'am, right? So that's what we had in the sentence. So God says to him, you shall not curse this people. Amar lo, so Balaam again hasn't stopped bargaining. Im kain avarchem. So he says, okay, if that's the case, I'm going to bless them. Let me bless them. Amar lo, God says to him, Einam tzrichim levirchatecha or levirchatcha. They don't need your blessing. Ki baruchu. And this is the part, of course, that is actually quoted in the verse. Ki baruchu, for indeed they are blessed. And Rashi says a famous proverb, mashal, a proverb, omrim, letzira, they say to the wasp. And Sfarim Acherim, other manuscripts have, I think, a more sensible word, not sirah, which means wasp, but the devorah, which means a bee. And they say to the bee, Lo midvushech, I don't want your honey, velo meuktzech, and I don't want your sting. I don't need your, the bad side, and I don't need the good side. I'd rather have nothing to do with you. And of course, God said to him, don't go with them. Period. But why the circumlocution Rashi's explaining? It implies this bargaining that Balaam did with God, was trying to do with God. Yud Gimel. Vayakum Balaam baboker. And Balaam arose in the morning. Vayomer el sarei Balak, and he said to the princes of Balak, Lechu el artzachim, return, go to your land. Ki me'ein Hashem, for God has prevented me, has denied me, letiti, to allow me, lahaloch imachem, to go with you. Okay, sounds okay so far. Let's see if there's any, Rashi. Lahaloch imachem, to go with you. Ela im, so the suggestion is, Ela im sarim gdolim mikem, but he's not allowing me to go with you, is how Rashi's understanding this. Right, so let's just take a look. Okay, here's the point. This word imachem, with you, is what creates this interpretation. Because this sentence would have made total sense had that word been left out, and if it had just said, Ki me'ein Hashem lititi lahaloch, because God has prevented me from going, period. But because it says, from going with you, that's why Rashi is explaining it the way he is. You understand that sometimes, words matter. And the fact that he included the word imachem, and again, looking at this scriptural text very, very carefully and pulling out any implications. So here we go, right? Lahaloch imachem, ela im sarim gedolim mikem. I can't go with you, but he'll only allow me to go with princes that are greater than you. Lamadu. So we learn from this. Sherucho gvoha, that he has literally, while it means, a high spirit, it means he was arrogant, right? He was arrogant. V'lo ratza liglot, and he did not want to make apparent, he did not want to reveal, shehu bishuto shel makom, that he was under the authority of God. He didn't want to give that out. Ela belashon gasut, except to use, gasut is again arrogance or pride. Lefichach vayosef od Balak, and that's the reason why Balak went back again. In other words, it's saying, on the one hand, if you just read it casually, it sounds like Balak is the one who's, the king Balak, king of Moab, is the one who's sort of pushing on him. But what this is saying is that Balaam had suggested, by the use of his words, the implication of his words, was suggesting to Balak that they needed to be higher princes. And that's why Balak sent them. In other words, Balak was simply responding to what Balaam was implying. Okay. Ki kaved, this is something, this is a different sentence, I believe, right? Yep. So this is it just isn't marked, but it's another verse, I believe. Just want to make sure. Yeah, okay, let's try this. We'll keep going. Vayakumu sarei Moav, and the princes of Moab arose. Vayavo el Balak, and they came to Balak. Vayomru, and they said, Me'ein Bilam haloch imanu. Bilam has refused to go with us.
And no Rashi until 17.
Okay. Vayosef od Balak. So again, Balak. Shaloach sarim rabim v'nichbadim me'ela. So what he did was he sent princes, more of them, rabim, more of them, v'nichbadim, and more honored from the ones that he'd sent originally. Again, okay, onwards. Vayavo el Bilam, and they came to Bilam. Vayomru lo, and they said to him, Ko amar Balak ben Tzipor. Thus says Balak's son of Tzipor, Alna timana mehaloch elai. Do not refuse to go to me. Right? Do not. Ki chabed achabedcha ma'od. For I will honor you greatly. V'chol asher tomar ela eseh, and anything or everything you say to me, I will do, I will perform. Ulachana, and please go. Kava li et ha'am hazeh. Now he's using the term kava, right? Go and utterly curse this for me, this people. He's feeling a little bit desperate here. So let's go on. Here we go. I will honor you very, very much. Again, Midbar Rabbah. Yoter mima shayita notel l'shavar, more than what you would have taken in the past. And he says, this is an interesting commentary here. Ritzono lomar milchemet sichon, and what he wants to say is regarding the war against Sichon, Ani noten lecha, I will give you. So it's possible. Okay, he's saying, remember, Sichon was king of the Amorites, and the Amorites, remember, had defeated. Again, this is terrible, my memory, but there had been a war between the Amorites and, was it the Moabites?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Or was it the Midianites?
I think it was the Moabites.
I think it was. So what he's saying, and remember we had read how the way Balak had heard about this is that he had heard how Bilam had helped Sichon in that particular battle. So obviously been paid. So he's being told what Balak is telling Bilam here is, I'm going to pay you even more than you took for the advice that you gave in that battle in Sichon's in the war that Sichon had waged. All right, let's go on.
I think Rashi is going to tell you that Balak is going to tell Balaam, I'm going to make you rich. I'm going to make you very wealthy.
Right.
I'm going to give you all the treasures in my kingdom. And after that, I don't know what happened.
Well, we'll see. But right, he says, I'll pay you even more. He's obviously showing that he really, really is desperate to have this guy come and do what he wants him to do. All right. So, Vaya'an Bilam, Ya'an answered, Bilam responded, Vayomer, and he said, El Avdei Balak, to the servants of Balak, Im yiten li Balak malo veito kesav hazahav. Even if Balak were to give me his house filled with, in other words, all of his silver and gold, right? The contents of his house filled with silver and gold. Lo uchal la'avor, I'm not able to transgress et pi Hashem, the mouth of Hashem. Elohai, my God, la'asot ktana ugdola, to do little or large, meaning anything, right? In other words, he's suggesting that, he is totally under God's, at this point, under God's dominion, and he will not do anything other than what God tells him to do. So again, I was saying before in the lesson yesterday that superficially Balaam sounds like this pretty, pious person, but he's in fact a hypocrite, is what we try to bring out, is his hypocrisy. So we're going to take a look at the Rashi. Okay, here we go. Again, using the words, right? It's that famous line from Shakespeare, "Methinks thou dost protest too much." In other words, who's even mentioning that much gold and silver? So why is he saying it? Right. So this is Rashi. Malo ve'to kesef zahav. Even his house filled with silver and gold, every single room filled to the brim with silver and gold. Lamadnu, so we learn from this, we can infer, shenafsho rechava, that he is very, very greedy, that he was a greedy person. Umachamed mamon, and umachamad mamon, he desires money. Lotachmod, he covets, that's the word, and he covets money, or he coveted money. Acherim, that's the point. So or maybe mechamed, or mechamed mamom acherim, and he covets other people's money. In other words, he was saying Balak's house filled with silver and gold, and he was coveting other people's wealth. Amar, he said, or he thought, Ra'ui lo liten li kol kesef hazahav shelo. It's appropriate for him to give me all his silver and gold. Sha'arei tzarich lischor chayalot rabot. Okay, so he would have to hire many soldiers. Safek notzech safek. So if he were to hire many soldiers, and you'd have to pay a lot of money for it, is a possibility. Notzech, it's possible that he will be victorious. Safek eino notzech, but it's also possible he won't be victorious. But ani vadai motzech. But as for me, there's no question, I'll be victorious. So he should pay me even more. He'd have to pay a large sum to hire all these soldiers, but there's a chance that they might be unsuccessful. But with me, since I'm guaranteed success, he should pay me even more. So then he goes on to say, Lo uchal la'avor, I am not able to transgress. Al korcho, he says, so this, what Rashi is saying is, despite himself, right? Gala or gila, shehu b'shut acherim. He didn't want to do this, but he wound up having to reveal that he is not under his own sway, that he was under somebody else's. V'nitna bekan, and here he prophesied, she'eno yachol levatel habrachot, that he will not be able to annul the blessings, shenit barchu ha'avot, with which the forefathers, the ancestors, were blessed, mipi hashchina, from God's own mouth, so to speak, that he wasn't going to be able to do that. And that's the pi Hashem. So Rashi's understanding this as not necessarily laying right this second, but the fact that something that God had done prior to that. I think this might be a good place to stop. And so I will put the marker in here and hope that I remember to look at it tomorrow. Oop. Okay, that was it.
Not, I will put you in your place.
Yes, you certainly will, and rightly so.
Lauren, you're okay.
And understand, very much appreciated it by me. Let me stop the share. All right, any reactions, any thoughts?
I thought, Rabbi, that the curse that God didn't want Balaam to do, if Balak was smart enough, he would say, all right, if you can't curse the Israelites, bless my troop, bless me. Why didn't he reverse that?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, because he didn't consult with Holland Radinsky, that's why. He should have been smart enough to do that.
And what I find interesting is trying to figure out why it's so important for the rabbis to make somebody like Esau or Balaam out to be more evil than is implied by the text.
Right.
I mean, I understand that what they're doing is they're saying, oh, this word doesn't need to be here, so let's look for an explanation. You know, that's, you know, part of the impetus is to explain these, you know, word phrasings. But it's just interesting that they're really wanting to very much demonize these people.
Right. You know, obviously that is the question that is begged, right? And the only answer at this point that I can come up with is it reflected the reality that they were dealing with. That there was so much, I mean, in some ways, you know, you look at how one people, the level of bigotry and hatred that is sort of in some ways, you know, unaccountable, and how the people that are so reviled have to deal with that. So I think, so I think that it wasn't that, oh, well, it was written this way, so that forces us into this meaning, but rather that this was the reality that they were dealing with, and they were finding support through a careful analysis of the language of the Torah to show support for what they were talking about. Yeah, Golda?
So they're putting in their time period into their commentary
Well,
a little bit.
I don't know. Okay, but part of the problem is that as you read
Is to make it more relevant to the people who were reading it at that time and who he was talking to.
Okay, so that's one possibility, and there's no doubt that the whole process of Midrash is to keep the words of the Torah fresh and alive. Okay. On the other hand, as listening to what you had to say, I was thinking to myself, but if you actually read biblical history, right? If you actually read what they went through, it seems to be consistent. You know, from Laban, how he treated Jacob. I mean, look at how he treated him. He cheated him all the way up and down, and then wanted to kill him. You look at how the Egyptians subsequently treated the Israelites. You look at the war between the Philistines and the Israelites while they were there.
Esau, you know, Esau went from being Esau to being Rome to being Christianity to being general enemy.
Right.
And Amalek also, you know, kind of just general, but Esau specifically because, you know, it wasn't, you know, that all came from putting the time and the interpretation together.
Oh, that there's no doubt about it. I mean, but yes, I'm not suggesting for a moment that initially this was all there, but it wasn't a difficult jump for them to take Esau and liken it in some ways to Christianity. All right. I'm not saying it's legitimate myself. I'm just saying I can understand why they did that. You have to understand, of course, that, blocking on his name, you know, the Roman emperor, it'll come to me in a moment, right? Constantine. When Constantine decided to make the entire Roman Empire Christian, I haven't done research on it, but
I thought that was Byzantine, but
Constantine was the name of the emperor. Okay, who
Christianized Europe,
Yes, absolutely. Christianized the Roman Empire. that would have thrown immediately into deep competition to a point of hatred between Christianity and Judaism. And understand that when you read some of the Gospels, right, there's stuff in those Gospels that just, clearly justify anti-Semitism.
You gotta hate the Nicaea is what you've got to do,
Yeah.
because they left out so much that was probably less horrible and less nasty to everybody else.
But we've seen,
yes.
yeah, but we've seen this kind of behavior, and we're out of time right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So but I think that's in some ways, at least, Lauren, to try and answer your very important question as to why they felt the need to do this. But although, let's see, I mean, Constantine would be later, and there I'm referring to your point about, identifying Esau with Christianity. That would be from that period. All right, let's, we will.
Stop recording.
Yeah, I'll stop the recording. Thank you for those who are listening in.